I never imagined that a poor boy would change my life, teaching me to start from scratch. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The moment when the world tilted, and I was left standing on the edge, gasping for air. It was a Thursday, a day like any other, yet the air felt heavy, like a storm cloud threatening to break. My heartbeat pounded in my ears as I approached the old, creaking school building, its walls whispering secrets of broken dreams and lost hopes. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed angrily overhead, casting a sickly glow on faded posters clinging to the walls like ghosts of past years. My friends laughed, but I could hear only the roar of my own insecurities drowning them out. I was just a kid from a worn-down neighborhood, where the pavement cracked like our dreams. I had plans to escape, to outgrow the limits of my life, but it felt like the more I reached for the stars, the deeper I sank into the ground. Then he came along. A poor boy with wild hair and a crooked smile, whose eyes sparkled with mystery. He didn't fit in, not like we did, and that intrigued me. He always carried a strange metal box with him, rusted and battered. I watched him day after day, trying to solve the riddle of who he was. Some kids called him a weirdo. Others just ignored him. But there was something in the way he lit up when he opened that box, like a candle flickering against the wind. One day, curiosity got the better of me. I approached him, unsure whether the sharpness of his eyes would turn me away or draw me in. He looked up, and for a brief second, our worlds collided. "Want to see?" he asked, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. I nodded, trembling. He lifted the lid, and there it was, a collection of odd trinkets and fragments from places far beyond our neighborhood. A tiny compass, a feather, a worn-out map with ink stains. Each object held a story, and my heart raced with the possibilities, but then, the bell screamed through the halls, shattering the moment. Reality crashed back down. I turned to leave, but something pulled at me. What if I didn't just walk away? What if I dared to follow him into the unknown? My chest constricted at the thought. I was terrified. And as I pushed through the crowd, I heard whispers curling around me. "He's trouble," they said. "Stay away from him." My hands trembled. Who was I to gamble on a boy who carried mysteries in a box? But in that moment, I caught a glimpse of something, maybe hope, maybe danger, that urged me to follow. The following days blurred into one another. I found myself sneaking glances, waiting for him to show up with that mysterious box. I wanted answers. I wanted a way out. Who was he? Where did he come from? Did he know secrets that could change everything? I felt the walls of my world closing in tighter, suffocating like a weight around my chest. Then one day, he was gone. No more wild hair, no more crooked smile. Just an empty space where he used to sit, and the box that once held the universe felt like a distant dream. I felt hollow, a void where curiosity and hope had bloomed. My world returned to its dull rhythm, but the questions lingered, echoing in my mind. I glanced at the empty seat, and in that silence, a truth settled within me. Something had shifted. The girl who was once content to stay safely on the sidelines was gone. I didn't just want to escape, I wanted to understand, to dig deeper into the unknown. But why had he left? Had I missed my chance? What had he known that I didn't? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days stretched into weeks, each one a reminder of the boy who had left without a trace. The hum of the school that once felt alive grew monotonous, each classroom a cage that tightened around me. My friends chatted and laughed, but their voices were muffled echoes, as if they were speaking through a thick glass barrier. I desperately searched for answers, listening for whispers about him in the hallways. Some said he was just a ghost, a fleeting shadow that had danced too close and vanished again, that in the midst of this emptiness, a flicker of hope ignited one dreary afternoon. I wandered into an old bookstore nearby, its dusty shelves lined with stories begging to be found. It was a sanctuary from my spiraling thoughts. My fingers brushed along the spines, searching for something to help me make sense of my tangled heart. That was when I saw it, a tattered journal, its pages yellowed and worn. The cover had no title, but its allure beckoned me. I opened it, the musty smell of ink and paper wafting into my senses, and began to read. The entries were filled with the scribbled thoughts of a dreamer, someone who had ventured far beyond the mundane. With every line, I felt the heartbeat of someone who understood the weight of dreams, who longed for more than the confines of a broken neighborhood. The writer wrote about adventures, mishaps, and an insatiable thirst for life that echoed within me. However, the last entry made my breath hitch in my throat. Sometimes, to find yourself, you must lose everything you think you are. I rushed to the counter, impulsively purchasing the journal. Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes, not just for the boy I missed, but for the profound connection I felt with a stranger who had poured their essence onto the pages. There had to be a way to find that boy, to understand the untold stories he carried and the lives he touched. As I left the store, the stale air of reality might have sucked the thrill from the pages of my new journal, but a tiny spark flared within me, a determination to dig deeper and uncover the mysteries of both him and myself. I wandered through the neighborhood, clutching the journal tightly, letting its weight remind me of my purpose. Days turned into restless nights where sleep eluded me, the boy's absence echoing in the silence. The journal followed me everywhere, becoming my guide. By illuminating the corners of my mind, it sparked discussions in my dreams. I began to write, pouring my thoughts onto blank pages that mirrored the boy's sentiments, a mix of hope, despair, and longing. Then came an unexpected twist. One evening, as I flipped past a dog-eared page, I noticed a curious symbol mark, a symbol that matched the one on the rusty box the boy had carried. My heart raced as I traced it with my fingers. It sent a shiver down my spine. It felt intentional. It felt like a thread connecting us across time and space. That I researched the symbol, leading me to a hidden corner of the internet dedicated to urban legends and forgotten treasures. Apparently, the symbol belonged to a group of wanderers who were said to seek places beyond the known, spaces that existed on the edge of society. My pulse quickened with every article. Perhaps he was not just a boy with a crooked smile, but a part of something much bigger. But just as things began to feel alive with possibility, despair hit hard again. That weekend, a storm swept through our neighborhood, fierce winds rattling the windows and rain battering the streets. I huddled in my room with flashlights and blankets, feeling the weight of the world press down heavier than ever. In the chaos, a sudden knock burst through the cacophony of the storm. Opening the door, I found a fragile figure clinging to my porch. It was a girl, soaked to the bone, her eyes wide with fear. She was unfamiliar, and yet, there was something about her that felt hauntingly connected to the boy I had lost. "Please," she gasped, shivering violently. "I need your help." Before I could respond, her gaze flickered to something in the distance, a boy, with wild hair and a familiar crooked smile, standing just beyond the shadows of the storm. My heart raced, and everything around me faded as questions spiraled. Was it truly him, or just an illusion brought on by desperate hope? In that moment of uncertainty, I felt the ground beneath me shift, teetering on the edge of revelation. I needed to know the truth, to navigate through the storm of emotions and mysteries that now lay before me. Would I dare to step into the unknown once again? The storm howled around me as I stood frozen in the doorway, my breath hitching between hope and fear. The girl shivered, her teeth chattering like a quiet storm of their own. But my eyes remained locked onto the boy in the distance, the figure whose crooked smile had haunted my dreams. My heart raced, a drum echoing the chaos outside. "Who are you?" I finally managed to ask, my voice barely above the storm's fury, still holding on to the doorframe as if it could shield me from the revelation looming like thunder. The girl, still shaking, took a step forward, her voice trembling. I think I know who he is. At least, I think I know what he's looking for." The boy remained stationary, a shadow against the backdrop of rain, yet strangely magnetic. "What do you mean?" I pressed, desperate for clarity in the swirling fog of my emotions. "He came to me before he disappeared. He told me about a Placia sanctuary. But I didn't believe him, until I saw you." Her gaze shifted to the boy, fear mixed with something I couldn't quite place. "He wanted to find something important, before he left." As her words filled the air between us, the boy stepped forward, his features emerging from the silhouettes of doubt. There was a flicker of familiarity, a trace of warmth with each step he took. "You've got to help me," he called out, a voice laden with urgency and vulnerability. "Help with what?" I asked, heart pounding furiously. I struggled to comprehend the gravity of the situation. The boy was here, and yet, he felt like a fragment of a dream, a wish that might unravel before my eyes. The girl stepped aside as he approached, breathless with longing and regret. "I have to find it. The book, it's more than just a journal. It holds secrets, it's a map," he said, and with that, something shifted in the air, tangling my heart in uncertainty once more. I glanced at the girl, who looked as if she carried the weight of the world on her shoulders, her expression pleading. "He believes it can lead him to where he belongs. But there are dangers, and it might change everything." My mind spun with possibilities. The boy smiled again as the storm seemed to quiet just for a moment, a sliver of hope piercing the gloom. But could I trust who he had become after all this time? As I stood there, straddling the threshold of the known and the unknown, I felt an undeniable pull to take his hand, to leap into whatever madness awaited us. "What do you want from me?" I asked gently, my voice not entirely my own. He replied with a faint shimmer in his eyes, "I want you to help me uncover the truth about the symbol, the map, and the wanderers like me." "You're connected too." "What do you mean?" "Why me?" I stumbled, my heart still in ruins, undulating with hurt, and yet, the flicker of adventure stole in. "Because you found the journal. You understand the search for something more." A silence enveloped us, the air thick with unspoken words. The boy shifted slightly, leaning closer, as if sharing an intimate secret meant only for me. "We all have pieces of what was left behind, those who wandered and those who long to find them again. You have to trust me." Before I could answer, another furious gust of wind rattled the porch, and the rain lashed against us, seemingly desperate to drown the moment. The girl squeezed my hand, determination flickering through her fear. "Don't let the storm steal this chance," she implored. I looked between them, the storm pulling and pushing at my emotions, a battle of longing and caution raging within me. Could I abandon the safety of my fears and step into the unknown for the sake of a boy who had slipped through my fingers? Then, as if sensing my hesitation, the boy corrected his posture, standing taller, the crooked smile now imbued with an earnestness that seemed to cut through the storm. "I know you're afraid, but the truth waits for no one. We all need to start over sometimes." I took a shaky breath, holding on to the weight of the moment, when suddenly there was a sharp crack of lightning, illuminating him for a brief eternity, and I thought maybe, just maybe, I could trust this boy again. I took a step forward, allowing the determination to seep into my skin. But just as I opened my mouth to affirm my decision, another flash lit the sky, and then, in the blink of an eye, the boy stumbled backward, as if struck by an unseen force. I rushed to catch him, but he dissolved in the rain, a mere wisp escaping my grasp. Clutching the girl's hand, panic coursed through me. "What just happened?" I breathed, now fully consumed by the tempest of emotions. "The storm," she murmured, eyes wide with shock. "It guards the secrets. We have to find him." As the storm raged on, reality twisted around us, a haunting reminder of how close I was, yet how far I still had to go. In the midst of the chaos, one agonizing thought gripped me: was the boy truly lost, or was this just the beginning of something I could have never imagined? The storm kept howling, and I understood the journey was just beginning. The rain poured like a waterfall, relentless and dark, as I stood wrestling with the absurdity of it all. The boy had vanished, his presence snatched from me like a mirage, leaving only echoes of his urgent plea behind. My heart thudded heavily in my chest, the silence that followed his disappearance more deafening than the tempest surrounding us. That I pulled the girl closer, instinctively seeking solace in her proximity. "We need to find him," I said, but my voice wavered with uncertainty. "How? What do we even do?" She looked at me, her eyes wide and glistening like reflective pools, but for a brief flicker, I saw a spark of determination. "There has to be a way," she said, urgency tinging her words. "He wouldn't have come back here unless he was meant to. We're part of this story now." Heart pounding, I nodded, though anxiety loomed large. The storm felt like an angry guardian, keeping secrets I wasn't sure I was ready to uncover. With the girl by my side, I took a deep breath, trying to anchor my mind against the undulating waves of doubt. "Tell me more about the book," I urged, realizing it was our only lead. She glanced toward the house, hesitating for a moment as if conflicted by a tide of memories. "It's old, dusty, it has symbols I don't understand. But it's said to be a map to a place where lost wanderers find solace." Her voice trailed off, and I could hear the unspoken weight in her words. I felt the desperation clinging to her, and I understood all too well losing him felt like losing a part of ourselves, the sanctuary he spoke of. I pressed, drawing her out of her reverie. Could it really help him? There was a pause, where time unfurled between us, heavy and pregnant with hope. "If it exists, then yes. It could mean everything," she asserted, her voice trembling yet filled with conviction. "But it's not just about finding him, it's about understanding why he's drawn to it. Why we are all drawn to it." Suddenly, another thunderclap erupted, and the harsh crackling light splintered the air above us, revealing the world glistening with rain. My breath hitched again in my throat. "The storm, it's hiding the truth. It feels like the energy it generates is blocking our path." "A storm?" she echoed, her brow furrowing in thought. "Maybe it's not an enemy. Maybe it can guide us. As she spoke, an idea sparked within me, flickering with hope. The book, if it really is a map, then perhaps we can decipher it using the storm's pattern? Find out where it leads, use its energy. Before I finished speaking, the girl's gaze sharpened. "We need the journal. I left it at the park, that's where he first told me about it." "Yes," I exclaimed, the revelation lighting a path forward amidst the chaos swirling around us. "Let's go now." The storm, it's a chance. Together, we darted from the porch, braving the pouring rain. The wind whipped around us violently, but an exhilarating rush surged through me, a blend of fear and determination propelling my feet forward. We arrived at the park, the old playground shrouded in mist, the swings barely moving, ghostly under the relentless downpour. Panting, we searched, our eyes scanning the chaos of twisted branches and muddied soil. "There." I pointed to the bench where I remembered seeing the boy lean, the journal perched precariously on the armrest. In a heartbeat, we tore towards it, each step feeling like a small victory against the storm's ferocity. The moment I reached the bench, desperate fingers found the book, the leather binding slick and worn under my touch. Heart racing, I flipped it open, the pages damp but legible. Strange symbols were drawn alongside desperate words, entwining stories of wanderers long forgotten. As we leafed through the pages, a chilling thought gripped me. What if we're not ready for the truth? I murmured, anxiety creeping into my voice once more. The girl swallowed hard, her own resolve still flickering. "We won't know until we try. But if it leads us to him, we owe it to ourselves to find out." With each passing moment, the energy surrounding us seemed to shift, the storm's howling morphing into a soft whisper, as if urging us onward. Together we began to trace the symbols, our fingers dancing along the lines, each curve and arc pulling us deeper into the mystery that awaited. Then, just as hope started to crystallize in my heart, a chilling realization struck me. The final symbol on the last page bore a striking resemblance to the boy's crooked smile. The storm intensified for a split second, almost as if it were mocking me, warning of the connection I had yet to fully comprehend. Staring at the page, I felt the girl's breath hitch beside me as she locked onto the symbol. What if he isn't just lost? She whispered, fear etched into her features. What if he's meant to be somewhere else entirely? I jolted at the implications, panic surging through me anew. What does that mean for us? For him? Before I could process the weight of our discovery, the storm unleashed itself once more, the brightness of lightning illuminating the darkened sky. In that blinding flash, for just a heartbeat, I thought I saw him, the boy standing at the edge of the park, staring right at us through the cascade of rain, and then he was gone. The girl grabbed my arm tightly, breaths quickening as we both turned to the direction he had vanished. He could be anywhere, she exclaimed, eyes wide with a mix of terror and hope. As the storm roared around us, I felt a tether pulling me toward him, the uncharted path before us dark and full of shadows. But with the journal in our hands, I resolved to step deeper into the unknown. With a decision firm in my heart, I turned to the girl. We have to keep going. We might be his only chance. That I could feel the storm's eyes upon us, the weight of its secrets growing heavier as we sought the truth that intertwined our fates. And as a new resolve set within me, I couldn't shake the fear that maybe, just maybe, we were meant to uncover something in the chaos beyond our wildest dreams. The rain drummed harder as we stood in the park, the shadows stretching like ghostly fingers across the wet ground. I could feel the weight of the journal in my hands, the history it held now pulsating with our urgency. The boy's absent presence loomed larger than ever, a specter masking his intentions, and my heart clenched as I clung to the hope that our search had meaning. Where do we go from here? I whispered, the urgency of the moment pressing against me like the rain-soaked air. The girl's eyes darted back to the woods beyond the park, where the trees thickened and shrouded whatever secrets lay within. If the symbols in the journal are a map, then we need to find the places they point to, she replied, her voice steady, although I could see her own doubts creeping in, shadowing the resolve from moments before. There's a spot near the old well. I remembered him talking about it. It's where he found solace. If he's drawn there, maybe we can meet him. As we pushed through the underbrush, each step felt like we were marching deeper into a story far beyond our own. The trees closed in around us, the dim light filtering through the leaves revealing snippets of forgotten paths. Doubts gnawed at me. What if we were chasing shadows? What if this quest led us only to a dead end? Yet, with each glimpse of the journal symbol in my mind, I propelled myself forward, ignited by a sliver of hope. Suddenly, the air shifted, crackling with a raw energy that made the hairs on my arms stand up. I glanced back at the girl, her face illuminated with awe as something flickered between the trees. Was it just the light dancing, or something more? Did you see that? She breathed, grasping my hand tighter. It felt alive. Before I could respond, the wildness of the storm escalated, the wind whipping furiously around us. In that moment, I thought I heard something, a faint voice carrying over the wind, full of longing. It took everything in me not to close my eyes against the chaos, to stay present and hunt for the source of that whisper. Look. The girl pointed toward an opening in the trees, where the underbrush parted to reveal the old well, its stones slick with moisture and covered in moss. We rushed toward it, our hearts aligning with the pulse of our purpose. As we approached, the journal began to hum softly in my hands, a resonance beneath my fingertips that felt strangely familiar. It was as if the symbols were alive, pulsating with the collective memories of those who had sought something deeper within its pages. Then, something miraculous happened. The storm lessened, the rain slowing to a gentle mist as we neared the well. What do we do? I stammered, glancing at the girl, whose eyes shimmered with determination. Do we look inside? Maybe it's about listening, she replied, her voice low and reverent. Sometimes the answers lie beneath the surface, hidden in the silence. Swallowing my fear, I leaned over the edge of the well, peering into the darkness below. The air shifted, and a deep sigh echoed from within, resonating with the torment of those who had once sought refuge here. Was he down there? I questioned, my heart racing as I felt connected to the very essence of the boy's longing. Can you hear it? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The girl leaned closer, her brow furrowed in concentration. It's like a heartbeat. It feels like he's here, in the air, telling us to trust. Just then, a powerful gust of wind erupted, sending an array of leaves spiraling around us, bathing the air in a frenzy of energy. I stumbled back, the journal slipping from my grip. It landed with a soft thud on the ground. We both gasped as the page began to flutter, each turn revealing a new symbol, a frantic desperate call reaching out to us. That I picked the journal up, my heart pounding as I turned to the relevant page. It was a drawing of the old well, but surrounded by swirling patterns that mirrored the storm above, forming a bridgy connection between our world and the one that seemed to lie out of reach. This is it. I shouted, realization washing over me. It connects to the sanctuary he spoke of. Maybe it's a literal crossroads. If we can decipher where the symbols lead, we can reach him. As if in response, the rain began to fall again, gently at first, but quickly picked up its ferocity, matching the rapid beating of my heart. Unfurling more pages, I grasped each symbol, my mind racing to connect the dots. The lines began to pulse with anticipation, and for a brief second, I dared to believe that we might succeed, but the storm answered back with a force I had not anticipated. A deep rumble of thunder erupted, echoing ominously, and the ground beneath us trembled, catching us off guard. "Stay close!" I shouted, grabbing the girl's wrist as we stumbled away from the well. Just then, amidst the chaos, I heard it again, the voice. This time more distinct, almost pleading. "Help me!" My heart sank. It was his voice, clearer this time. Was I imagining things? I turned to the girl, desperate for confirmation, for a flicker of the same hope flickering in my chest. "Did you hear that?" I demanded, eyes wide, but as I searched her face, a new doubt crept in. Her expression grew darker, shadowed by a realization I couldn't yet see. Before she could reply, a sudden crack of lightning split the sky, illuminating a figure standing at the edge of the clearing. I blinked, heart racing. It couldn't be. But when the moment passed and the brightness faded, the figure was gone, whisked away as if it had been a figment of the storm. "Did you see that?" I gasped, fear rushing through my veins. Her silence was heavy between us, tightening like a bond of fate and fear. "What if he's trapped here, in between?" she whispered, and in that moment, a shiver ran down my spine. What if the storm is hiding more than just the truth? As the winds howled, I grasped the journal tighter, the weight of my fears erupting once more. The storm had become a prison, a magnifier of our insecurities, but within its chaos, I sensed hints of the boy, like scattered leaves in the wind. "That we can't give up," I insisted, my voice raw with desperation. "We can't let him remain lost." The girl hesitated, torn between her own fear and the call of the unknown that beckoned us forward. Yet, my resolve hung there, charged with an energy that felt undeniable. The storm gathered its strength, and I could almost feel the boy reaching out through the tempest, searching for a way back home. With a shared breath, we locked eyes, two souls tethered by a desperate hope and a belief that we were meant to uncover the path that lay ahead amidst the raging storm. And just as we prepared to move deeper into the forest, a chilling realization washed over me, an epiphany mingling with the thunder. Somewhere in this chaos, the boy was more than just Losta was showing us, guiding us through the storm, leading us toward the very heart of our intertwined fates. "Let's go," I implored, my heart racing, ready to embrace whatever truth awaited us in the shadows. Little did I know, that in our pursuit of him, we were about to uncover a revelation that would change everything we thought we knew. But the storm had more secrets to unveil, and I could feel the air thickening around us, charged and electric, as we hurtled toward an unknown that threatened to tear us apart. The path through the woods darkened further as we ventured toward the labyrinth of trees, each step resonating with the echoes of my heart. Shadows danced ominously as the storm rumbled around us, the weight of our search pressing heavily on my shoulders. With every pulse of the journal in my hands, I felt an insatiable thirst for answers, even as fear laced its way into my thoughts. Uninvited. As we navigated through the thick underbrush, the air around us crackled with anticipation, heavy with the promise of something unspoken. The girl's grip remained steady on my arm, her determination palpable. Yet I sensed a tremor of uncertainty in her, mirroring my own. We were but two characters in a story larger than ourselves, and the narrative had taken a turn I hadn't been prepared for. Do you think we'll really find him? She asked suddenly, her voice catching in the wind, as if the storm itself conspired to muffle our hopes. I turned to her, the weight of her question hanging between us like a silent specter. He's here, I affirmed, though a gnawing doubt pulsed deep within me. He has to be. The pulsating energy of the storm intensified as we pressed on, urgency thrumming against the backdrop of our surroundings. Any moment of quiet was crushed by the tempest above, as if it too were holding its breath waiting for the resolution of our fraying tale. Then we stumbled upon a clearing, barely discernible beneath the canopy. The air felt different here, charged, electric. At the center stood an ancient tree, its gnarled branches reaching toward the sky, like hands grasping for something lost. Beneath its sprawling roots, the ground was disturbed, revealing a hidden entrance that gaped like an unsolved riddle. My heart raced as I glanced at the girl, who met my gaze with both fear and curiosity reflected in her eyes. This tree felt significant, as if it held the key to our unfolding mystery. What if, she began, hesitating. What if we dig? What if there's something beneath? My breath caught. Could it be that simple, that drastic? But in my heart, I felt that the boy was beckoning from the depths, urging us to confront whatever lay buried there. Let's do it, I said, my voice shaky but resolute. We dropped to our knees, the rain pouring down in sheets, but we pressed on, uncovering the earth with our hands, mud and grass slipping through our fingers. The echoes of the storm became a distant memory, drowned out by the rhythmic pounding at our task. For a moment, time seemed suspended, as if nature itself were grieving alongside us, helping us uncover the truth hidden beneath layers of doubt. It was then, amid the storm and the roots, that our fingertips grazed something hard and cold. My heart stuttered in my chest as we unearthed a small metallic box, intricately engraved with symbols that mirrored those in the journal. Do you think this is it? She whispered, wide-eyed, as if the world around us had shifted abruptly to a new page, full of possibilities. Only one way to find out, I replied, taking a breath to steady my trembling hands. I twisted it open, feeling the resistance of rusted hinges that protested against the storm's fury. As the box creaked open, the rain seemed to soften, as if it too were holding its breath, enraptured by the moment. Inside lay a collection of artifacts, worn photographs, scattered letters, and amongst them, a simple key. My fingers brushed over the faded images depicting a Bueno, the boy, a younger version of him, framed against familiar places I recognized, yet shrouded in a haze of memories. This was his, the girl gasped, tears welling in her eyes as she recognized the truth. It's a piece of his story, it's us. This is what he wanted us to find. Just as the enormity of this realization washed over us, the storm unleashed a fury I had never experienced. Thunder cracked the sky once more, a low growl of untold power. The wind howled around us, and I instinctively pressed the journal against my chest, heart racing with each violent gust that seemed to cloak us in darkness. Amidst the chaos, a low murmur floated through the tresa. Whisper intertwined with the rustling of leaves, almost like a warning. It was his voice again, more palpable than before, urging us onward yet filled with a foreboding urgency. Help me with the box clutched tightly in our hands. The realization began to sink in. These discs of his past weren't just remnants, they were pieces of a puzzle, each telling a story. The sanctuary he spoke of, the way he felt lost in between worlds, could it fetch him back? But just as hope began to sprout at the edges of my heart, the storm erupted in a final, vengeful crescendo. A blinding flash of lightning struck the tree, illuminating everything in a stark white light, and in the crashing aftermath, a chill surged through the air, sending shivers down my spine. As the moment passed and darkness returned thickly around us, I turned to the girl, my heart in my throat. Did you see that? Something isn't right. The girl's face turned pale, and as she glanced over her shoulder, I followed her gaze. My breath hitched as I caught sight of someone emerging from the shadows, a figure framed in the tempest, indistinct at first but then stepping into the flickers of illumination cast by the storm. It was him, the boy, alive but altered, his eyes hollowed and filled with an unsettling desperation. Help me, he echoed again, and as our world spun on its axis, I understood more than just the plea for assistance. It was a warning wrapped in fate. With every ounce of courage, I stepped forward, hand outstretched, but the wind shrieked louder, drowning out my voice as the realization crashed over me. We were not just chasing pieces of a lost boy's journey, we may have unearthed something far darker, a truth that could shatter the very fabric of our own lives, and in that fraction of a moment, amid the storm's fury and the weight of the past pressing down on us, I knew we were standing at the edge of revelation, a choice that would lead us deeper into the darkness or set us irrevocably free. The wind howled around us as I stood, paralyzed in front of the apparition that had once been a boy brimming with life. His eyes, once a vibrant mosaic of mischief and hope, now reflected only a disturbing blend of haunting memories and unspeakable sorrow. He stretched out a hand adorned with scrapes and dirt, fingertips trembling as they reached for mine. "Don't," the girl's voice broke through the storm, a fragile warning that sent a shiver down my spine. But I could hardly hear her over the cacophony of the storm raging above. All that mattered was the palpable urge to bridge the chasm that separated us, desperation to grasp the reality of his presence before it slipped away once again. How? I managed to choke out, my voice barely an echo against the thunder. "What happened to you?" he faltered, his gaze darting to the flooded earth beneath our feet, as if trapped in an inescapable vortex of memories. "It's too late," he murmured, a deep sadness coating his words. "You have to leave, before it's too late for you too." The truth he trailed off, the weight of his own fears stifling him, creating a barrier thicker than the storm. "Wait. We're here to help," I shouted, an urgency bursting forth from me, equal parts fear and hope. "What do we need to do?" I felt my heart race, every syllable an invitation and a plea. But the moment lingered, and I could see him wavering, drawn between realms, a tether to the past intertwined with the darkness clawing at his soul. "The key," he finally breathed, his gaze locking onto the small artifact resting in my palm. "You must use it, but do it wisely. The past doesn't come without a price." The storm around us amplified, a violent orchestra of rage and grief. The girl and I exchanged a glance, her determination flickering like a candle aflame amid a tempest. I could see it, the fear clouded her features while the dawning comprehension filled her eyes. We were trapped between two worlds, the boy who needed us and the reality tearing at us. A flash of lightning illuminated his face, perpetuating the despair that lay within his hollow eyes. "There's something dark in that box. It binds us all. You have to decide if you're strong enough to confront it." Fueled by overwhelming dread and curiosity, I turned to the girl. "Should we? If this box holds the key, will it change anything?" She interrupted, her voice trembling. "Or will it only bring us deeper into his torment?" The sound of her uncertainty clung to the moist air, heavy with the weight of our choices that I couldn't answer. All I had were echoes of unanswered questions swirling in my mind like the tempest that surrounded us. There was no certainty in this moment, only the electricity of potential futures stretching in unseen directions before us, each teetering on the edge of hope and darkness. And then, with a gasp, the boy stepped back, fear flashing in his eyes. "They're coming. You must decide." Before I could comprehend the meaning behind his words, shadows danced beneath the cover of the trees, shifting and swirling, coalescing into figures that emerged from the storm. They were flashes of memories, people once close to the boy, their faces twisted in agony, their eyes echoing his sorrow. "No!" I screamed, instinctively stepping closer to him as if my presence could shield him from the past that was clawing its way back into reality. "We can fix this together," but the figures kept approaching, whispering in voices that blended into a haunting chorus. "You should have left it buried." As they loomed closer, their spectral forms stretching toward us like gnarled branches reaching out for the warmth of the light, the girl grasped my arm tightly, panic flaring in her eyes. "We need to get out of here. Now." But I could hardly move, my gaze fixed on the anguished face of the boy who had once been a stranger but was now tethered to my soul. He was still a boy beneath all that pain, waiting for someone to take his hand and pull him back from the void threatening to consume him. In the midst of this chaos, the memories grew louder, until suddenly calmly, like a candle's flicker, extinguished by an unexpected gust, the storm quieted. A shift, a moment of openness expanded in the thick fog of fear. I took a step toward the boy, the metallic key heavy in my palm. "If I open the box, will it bring you peace?" His eyes widened, filled with a desperate longing. "Only if you're ready to unlock the memories. Once opened, the past won't stay hidden." That I steadied my breath, every heartbeat pounding with indecision, but there was no going back. The boy was asking for my help, and whether or not he knew it, he held the key to understanding what I had left behind as well. But before I could respond, a dreadful whisper wound through the air. A valiant foreboding and the howling wind returned, carrying words from nowhere and everywhere, taking residence in my mind. "Once you know, you cannot unknow." In that moment, the chilling weight of truth bore down on me, pulling me into an abyss of uncharted emotions and consequences. I tightened my grip on the key and looked back at the girl, who returned my pleading gaze with a mix of defiance and resignation. "Together?" I asked, needing the assurance of her strength beside me. Her nod was small yet fierce, fortifying me with a sense of determination against the storm brewing both inside and out. As I steadied myself against the dark tide waiting beneath the surface, a new chorus of shadows enveloped us. I felt the boy's presence flickering, urging me onward while silently promising that this path would lead to one unavoidable truth. We were not just unearthing his past, we were on the brink of unleashing our own buried demons along with his. And as the pall of memories thickened, the twisted shadows pulled closer, I whispered my answer into the gale. "Then let's reveal everything." That echoing heartbeat, the ground trembled beneath my feet, the storm above us shimmered with electricity, and the fabric of time began to unravel, revealing the chilling truth that would change our lives forever. The air hung thick with anticipation as the echo of my decision vibrated through the atmosphere. The moment crystallized into a breathless suspension. I could almost hear the beating of my heart jabbering against the silence that followed. The boy's fragile form shimmered, his desperation hanging between us as fear and hope twisted into a taut rope of tension. Before I could even blink, the shadows, those haunting remnants of the past, began to encircle our feet. It felt as if the ground beneath was writhing, the very earth mourning the memories trapped within. "Open it," the boy urged. "But know this: what you find may change everything." Beside me, the girl squeezed my arm a bit tighter. Her breath quickened, and I could feel the pulse of our shared fear. Yet, there was also a flicker of fierce resolve shining through her eyes, a solid friendship dancing over the smoldering coals of uncertainty. It gave me the courage I needed. My heart pounded in rhythm with the crashing waves of the storm, but I forced my hand to steady. The metallic key felt cool and smooth against my palm, a poignant reminder of everything that had been lost and everything that was at stake. I slowly approached the box, its ornate designs glistening faintly under the shadows. My fingers trembled as I inserted the key, feeling an inexplicable weight in my chest, a blend of fear and foreboding. I twisted it, and the lock clicked open with a chilling finality, reverberating into the void left by the storm's earlier fury. The box creaked open, revealing a tapestry of details, photographs, and tangled remnants of life. At first, the contents felt benign, faded snapshots of a smiling boy, a small hand-painted figurine, a chipped and broken toy, all remnants of innocence, of love, of childhood that had been eviscerated by whatever darkness had befallen him. As I sifted through the memories, a wave of emotion flooded me, grief for the love he had lost, anger for the pain that had bound him in such chains, an indescribable devastation intertwining with a burgeoning love for a boy who had been utterly cast aside. But just as the flood of mundane memory settled, a darkness unfurled from within the box like smoke curling outward. Images of despair twisted around my mind like a noose tightening its grip. I saw faces contorted in agony, the boy standing in the background, witnessing events that marked the pivotal moments of his life: the fire, the screams, the heart-wrenching departure of laughter and light. No. I gasped, tearing my gaze away as reality slipped through my fingers back into darkness. "Close it!" the girl shouted, her voice slicing through my rising dread. "We can't." But it was too late. The shadows began to shift, the emotions surging back like a tidal wave, bearing so much sorrow that it was as if the very atmosphere mourned. The boy reached for me again, his eyes now sharp with something that mingled confusion and fear. "I can't breathe," I whispered, collapsing to my knees, clenching the box as if it were a fragile lifeline. I felt the burden settle on my shoulders, a roaring tempest of anguish and carrying memories that had once felt so remote, now crashingly close. No. He shouted, and then instinctively, without hesitation, he lunged toward the box. But the shadows surged as if animated by the memories within. They seemed alive and utterly unconcerned about our fates. They tugged at my limbs, as if trying to draw me into their depths, weaving memories and despair into my very being. I won't let this happen. I screamed, reaching out toward the boy, offering him my hand, but distantly aware of the terrifying hold the past had over him. You don't have to be alone, but the shadows swirled violently, twisting with rage. His form flickered and dimmed as he hesitated. This is too much for you. You don't understand. And then, in a moment that felt suspended in air, reality broke. A tear opened in the fabric of the scene around us. I saw a flicker of light, a recognition in his eyes, but then, abruptly, the torrent pulled him back into the shadows. Help! He cried out as I felt a terrifying jolt. The shadows writhed, threatening to entrap him in their cold grasp, but in the depths of my anguish, I found a flicker of defiance. I couldn't let him go. Together. I shouted again, stretching my fingers further into the darkness, seeking his hand. With desperation fueling my determination, I lunged forward, grasping the edge of the box tightly, my heart hammering as I murmured, "We can face this. I won't let go." In that defining moment, the shadows stilled as if they anticipated what we might summon from within the box. A single beam of shimmering light broke through the chaos, cutting through the bonds we couldn't yet see. The boy's eyes brightened, a glimmer of hope sparking in the swirling darkness, but before I could act, a final shriek resonated through the storm. A piercing sound that sliced through the air and sent a wave of despair crashing into me like a rogue wave against the shore. Time is running out. The girl shouted, her voice panicking against the tempest. And then, just like that, the moment shattered. The darkness answered her with a menacing chorus, shadows swallowing the boy in a vortex of sad echoes and agitated whispers. You do not belong here. You cannot take his place. I felt my breath hitch as I lost my grip on the moment the shadows had won. In the depths of that storm, as the boy's figure flickered like a dying candle, the light receded, and the darkness swallowed whole the last remnants of his spark, leaving behind a chilling void that echoed through every fiber of my being. As the ground shook beneath us, a horrifying revelation dawned. In wanting to save him, I had only deepened his torment. The price of truth was far more than I could have imagined, and as dread enveloped me in its chilling embrace, I realized we were standing on the precipice of a revelation that had the power to take so much more than our fragile hopes. With tears blurring my vision, I searched wildly, struggling against the powerful pull of despair that threatened to shatter me entirely. But in that looming darkness, as the boy was lost to the shadows, a flicker of something else ignited, and just before the storm broke anew, I felt a presence that was neither the boy nor the shadows, but something ancient, guiding us toward our fate. Everything inside me urged to fight, to stand against the tide of suffering and secrets, and suddenly, against the backdrop of chaos, I heard an echo in the distance, a heartbeat amid the cacophony, offering untold promise of strength, community, and resilience. It pulled at me, leaving my heart racing with a newfound resolve. I just didn't know what it would cost. From the depths of that swirling abyss, the storm howled maddeningly, whispering that this was just the beginning. The heavy weight of uncertainty hung over us like a dark cloud, and in that moment, amidst the shadows and echoes of the past pulling every ounce of hope from my heart, I realized we were far from finished. The journey had only just begun, and the choice would soon arrive, to confront the shadows within, or risk losing everything and everyone I had grown to love. The storm raged on, an unrelenting symphony of chaos that mirrored the turmoil roiling inside me. The shadows receded slightly, their tight grip momentarily loosening, as if curious about the flicker of strength I had inadvertently tapped into. Yet the boy remained a haunting silhouette in the tempest, partially obscured by the swirling darkness that clung to him like a second skin. I felt the weight of his absence, a vacuum formed in the core of my being, and it stung with every breath. "Please," I whispered, the words trembling on my lips. "Don't give up on me." The girl beside me squeezed my hand tightly, anchoring me with her warmth in the storm's cold grasp. "We have to fight," she urged, her voice steadier than mine. I felt it too. There's something more, something we can reach for. But how? Every route seemed shrouded in shadows. I turned my gaze back to the box, fearing that the very memories I had unearthed now weighed heavier than any relic of the past. Perhaps there were answers inside, perhaps more darkness, but retreating into silence felt like surrender. As if sensing my indecision, the box shimmered faintly, but the light emanating from it was tempered by shadows swirling like reluctant dancers. It felt alive, presenting both the echoes of the boy's past and the chance of our future. What if this box is our bridge? I suggested, yearning for clarity but fearing the unknown. That's the risk we have to take, the girl replied. But we need to be united. Whatever's within, we can't face it alone. The shadows stirred again, their angry whispers threatening to drown out our resolve. Our unity became our shield, and with each passing heartbeat, I could sense the ebb and flow of our determination against the tide of despair. But with every echo that resonated, the void within me echoed the significance of what I had disrupted. The boy